I am very happy to present to you today our next talk that is about BiPAP, CPAP, and high flow nasal cannula. Let me put this in presentation mode. Okay, as you all know, these devices are medical devices, and they are a quite variety of medical devices. We have been talking about personal protective equipment, oxygen delivery systems, and today we will be talking about non-invasive ventilation. So what we have in the catalog of medical devices in WHO, and for every slide that I placed the link here, so when you receive the slides, you can open the links. So we have the catalog of medical devices that includes all the priority medical devices that were selected by WHO, and we select them based on the clinical management documents. And then here we have the three of them: the BiPAP with tubing and patient interfaces for adult and pediatric with accessories, the CPAP, also tubing and patient interfaces for adult and pediatric with accessories, and the high flow nasal cannula. So the idea is that countries can go into this emergency global supply chain system and go to the catalog and then request any of these devices. And then WHO is doing the procurement for them. So what we have is we have developed the technical specifications. And so for BiPAP, CPAP, and high flow nasal cannula, they're all priority medical devices for COVID. And here we have, they are in the technical guidance documents. Here we have, and there are different options. So the option is you have either of them, and then they are used in the second and third level. If we're talking about specialized hospital, for example, those are the ones that will be using them. And they will be used for treatment and monitoring of oxygen therapy, and also of management of severe acute respiratory infection. What is very important for the CPAP is the use of the nasal mask, the mask, and it is very important that it's very well sealed, the same as with BiPAP. And then for the high flow nasal cannula, it is up to 60 liters per minute. And then of course it includes a nasal cannula. We have also in WHO, and I put the links here, we have the documents for clinical care for severe acute respiratory infection. And here is where you have, when you decide that a patient requires oxygen therapy, then you have the two paths. If the patient fails to respond to escalating oxygen, then you have either the intubation for urgent indications, or you use the non-invasive, so it's no intubation. And then we have the three options here, no? And these are mild and moderate hypercapnia or normal, and hemodynamic stability. No? We have also in WHO, and these are done by all our clinical experts, the cautions with non-invasive ventilation. And that specifically, this document that you can find in WHO in the link says high flow nasal oxygen should be used only on selected patients with hypoxemic respiratory failure, the same as this one. And the high flow nasal cannula should be closely monitored for clinical deterioration. And all of them say, because of the uncertainty around the potential for aerosolation, all of them should be used with airborne precautions, with further evaluation of safety. And also it is very important to check the adequate flow, the seal of the masks, and also personal protection. So what I put here is for the three of them, they have continuous positive airway pressure. The pressures go 3 to 20 centimeters of water. And it is very important to have the seal of mask and the high flows rates of oxygen. For the BiPAP, you have the two pressures, the inspiration and the expiration. There are different pressures. And sometimes you can have a helmet over the mask to protect the aerosolization to the healthcare worker. And with the nasal cannula, you have up to around 60 liters per minute. No mask needed, and it is heated and humidified. So there have been many innovations, and then everybody wants to use CPAP and BiPAP, but we want to warn you a lot. Some of these devices, they require high pressure oxygen that can come in a piped way in high-income countries, but maybe not available in low-resource settings. It is not necessarily appropriate for all low-resource settings, and I will be glad on the next talks what we will learn from Pascal and our colleagues from France. The PPE protection is a very important one for all healthcare workers because they can get infected. So it is a high risk for healthcare workers. The mask in the patient has to be absolutely sealed. The oxygen flow has to be continuous. And there have been some innovations using scuba diving mask or others, but it is very important that the fitting does well and that the pressure is maintained and that there is an effective treatment. And many say, well, they are very inexpensive. Yes, the cost is less than ventilators, but they are non-invasive, but they need clinical management, appropriate clinical management for all patients. It cannot just be used randomly. And I just put one example. This is the UCL Ventura designed for UK hospitals, and that is exactly the word, designed for UK hospitals and trained healthcare workers. That is very important. And this has been widely disseminated. So if anybody in a low-income country wants to use it, they first need to make sure that they have all the conditions similar to the settings where these are being used today. For innovative technologies, we have placed this link in the WHO website so that you can submit your innovations here, but also check other websites that are considering innovations. And this is, for example, the submission form. And the idea is that it will be, all these innovations will be reviewed by experts group in WHO, and then the ones that are innovative and could be used in different settings will be placed in the Compendium of Innovative Technologies in about a few weeks' time. No? So with this, I finalize. I thank you very much, and I give it. I always put this slide because just procuring them or getting the innovation is not enough. We need to regulate the products. We need to make sure that there is a selection, procurement, the donations, the loan, that they are used appropriately, and the decommissioning is very important. And in the case of these three in non-invasive, the re-sterilization and reuse is absolutely indispensable. Much, much, much care has to be taken. And remember, as I always say, the patient is at the end of our equipment, so we really need to manage them very carefully. With this, I thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Adriana. Maybe I could introduce you Dr. Gilles Donner. He's going to show you our experience in France and how he used CPAP on his